Hi, I'm Sarah, and I have to give myself a shot at least 5 times a day.
And I'm Kyle, and I'm a good friend of Sarah's. You don't owe me for anything, but if you want to buy me cheesecake bars, I'm not going to say no.
Does Sarah prefer sweet or savory?
Sweet, because you love caramel apples, and I don't understand why.
I do like caramel apples.
And you bake a lot.
I do bake, but some of that's savory. I'd say I'm like 50-50.
Sure. So is this like half right
It's like
then?
low blood sugar, sweets. Well, and also everything else in sight. And
Fair.
Otherwise savory.
Okay, so I'm going to say this is a point for me, though.
It's a half a point.
It's a half a point.
Is Sarah an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm going to do this with a little bit of a caveat. I think you're an introvert, but you can extrovert very well. I would say that you are either an introvert who can extrovert or a lowercase e extrovert.
I think you're right in the first one. I'm definitely an introvert, but I can extrovert if I want to.
Yeah.
But I need my downtime afterwards to be like, I don't want to see people anymore.
Yeah.
Unless it's you.
Okay.
What one word would Sarah use to describe herself?
Okay, so I wrote collected. You always know who you are, you're grounded. I don't know if people see that in themselves, but that's a word I would use.
I definitely didn't think of that. I think what I was thinking is independent, but it kind of on the same lines of collected is because I know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah, independent. That was probably the word I had in my head.
Collected's good too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it.
What would Sarah say is her favorite sport?
It's rugby. It's rugby.
Yeah, I do love rugby. There's a need for every single type of body type on the pitch. And there's just so much, especially in women's rugby, there's so much body positivity, so much focus on so your body can do, which I didn't get that at all growing up.
What would Sarah say is the hardest thing she's been through?
Okay, so before I show you the answer, I think this is just something that you've talked to me a lot about.
Okay.
With regards to your life. But you always have a lot of trouble with health insurance and things like that.
Being someone with chronic illnesses, more than just diabetes, that has definitely been a pain in the butt. It's just that constant compounding of multiple small things that just add up to this big heavy weight.
How old was Sarah when she was diagnosed with diabetes?
Were you perhaps 9 years old?
Almost double that.
Okay. Wow, I was really
No, I
wrong.
wasn't a young kid when I was diagnosed. I was 17. I had a ton of symptoms before I was diagnosed, but I had no idea that they were symptoms of type 1 diabetes at all. I was at the children's clinic and they were like, well, your blood sugars are off the chart. So then I went to the hospital and that was still off the charts. And so they said I was 2 days from a coma, which is crazy to think about.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was really sick. So I was in there for a week or a week and a half or something. And then the rest of my life happened. Life after diabetes.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever told me that.
Yeah.
How many times a week does Sarah need to take an insulin injection?
I know you do it, and we've been together when you've done it. I've never paid attention to how often you do it. I'm gonna say 42 because there are 7 days in a week. Perhaps you do it 6 times a day. Unsure, and that would be 42. I know that the math is right.
The math is
No,
right.
my logic is right.
You're actually probably totally spot on with that.
Well,
Look at you.
if it was based off of actual knowledge, I would have felt better.
What was Sarah's lowest moment in dealing with her diabetes?
I don't know if I can even fathom a guess because I feel like you kind of keep those parts to yourself a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's hard because most people don't understand. The hardest parts for me are you can't figure it out sometimes, because there's so many things that affect your blood sugar. Once you want to make a change for that and get to the point where you can say, hey, maybe I need to do this differently, you have to wait a day. So it's not just that constant, but it's also not being able to make a change in the moment and see like instant results.
What is a favorite food that Sarah wishes she could eat without consequence?
I'm gonna go with this because I'm gonna go with cheesecake.
I knew you were gonna write that.
I knew because she got me a book one year for my birthday that was all about cheesecake recipes.
I never grew up like eating cheesecake. You have made me love cheesecake, so that's good.
I've done my job.
I would say like the biggest thing for me is I kind of wish that I could just eat like regular plain pasta. Because I think this is a really common like type 1 diabetes thing, is that people like metabolize it a little strange. But I wish I could just eat like normal pasta sometimes, you know? Like sometimes you just want some like macaroni and cheese.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I really don't eat that ever, so.
Often a craving that I have.
Yeah. Along with cheesecake on the
Along
theme
with
of
cheesecake.
How many different decisions a day do you think Sarah has to make around her diabetes?
100 plus. I imagine that you have to like figure out what you're eating at all times and determine when you go on walks. I mean, we've talked
Yeah.
about this before.
Yeah.
I've driven a few times to places because you're like, I'm low and you have to bring snacks.
happened
I just
last
can't,
2 times we got together, right?
I can't imagine.
I don't know if it's like 100 plus. The general like average that people say is like 80 times a day that diabetics have to make extra decisions compared to the normal person. Some days it's worse, some days it's better, some days it's certainly 100 plus. I would like to think that there's days where it's less than 80. Obviously making those extra decisions throughout the day can lead to huge amounts of burnout and just like being overwhelmed by it. But at the same time, like I think about when I was newly diagnosed and I didn't have all the information that I do now and all the extra knowledge. Being able to make those extra decisions throughout the day allows me to live the life that I want to. Like in that sense, being able to make those decisions and have the information I need to be able to do that is actually an amazing thing too.
A good answer.
What would Sarah say is the personality trait that helps her the most?
I am forgetting every adjective that exists in this moment.
I should have brought a thesaurus.
I'm gonna go with tenacity.
Actually,
You're
yeah.
a very tenacious person.
Yeah.
And I think that you're tenacious about community, you're tenacious about ensuring that people know about diabetes. It's a very respectable trait. I mean, I feel like tenacious people get a lot of stuff done. And
Actually,
you
that's
get
like-
a lot of stuff done, so.
Yeah, that's honestly like pretty close to what I was thinking. It's like determined and like strong-willed, just gonna like get it done. And I don't know what else there is to say otherwise.
No,
you're just
tenacious.
spot on. I am tenacious. I'll take that. That's a good one.
What would Sarah say she is most proud of?
Again, writing the novel.
No, I just,
No.
it's something that you talk about. I would say increasing the visibility of diabetes, like the struggles that people with diabetes have, because you mentioned before it's like an invisible disease, but you've done a lot of work with like on your Instagram and just like talking about it, and on your Facebook, just like helping people see the impact that it has in your life, both positive and negative.
Yeah, I don't know if I can think of like one particular thing that I'm most proud of in my life. But I definitely do find a lot of pride in like being able to help out my own community. I've always said that I've learned so much from the actual type 1 diabetes community, and I feel that because I've learned all of that information, like I have the need to pass it on. I enjoy being with people in that community, and I also being able to help out those people. So, and it ultimately helps myself too. So.
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed this. I knew you'd be good at it.
Any excuse I get to hang out with Sarah is a good time.
I obviously aim to not make diabetes the #1 thing in my life, but yeah, I thought you did good.
Thank you.
It's like you know me. It's like
think
we've
you
been
did good.
friends for over 10 years, and like, oh my gosh.
I'll come watch you play rugby sometime, I promise. What's your favorite thing about me? I'm kidding.
You